You already know what it is.
So, it's your boy Jay, back at the Geekedout podcast.
You're
All right, so today we're going to talk about the DCU, everything to expect, everything to look forward to, and what you need to know to start prepping yourself. So, Kenzo, as you know, James Gunn is spearheading, the DCU, taking in his direction, and I feel like it's a much needed thing because the way the DCEU was going wasn't feeling like it was going to gain much traction or really give us anything we wanted. What are your thoughts on that?
Wait, wasn't it? I mean, announced, but what, late last year? So how many movies we got already planned? We got supposed to be Superman,
Mm-hmm.
Supergirl, a new Batman,
Yep.
and some TV.
Clayface, Clayface, The Authority, and Swamp Thing are also movies.
Oh, Swamp Thing, I seen that. I forgot about that one. And Peacemaker included in that, you know?
Peacemaker is going to be canon. I do need to talk about that a little bit because there's just some things that you need to know before you commit it to memory. But there
Okay.
are a few shows that are also coming out that will be canon to the DCU verse.
So yeah, I know Waller's getting a show. I think I seen Booster Gold's getting a show. So the shows are probably gonna stay along the same lines. Shows have always been not always, but for the most part, you got Titans, you got a lot of DC shows. The shows have been pretty good. It's always the movies are gonna stay up, and I have some faith for Superman because I mean they screwed up a couple of those, but for the most part, they kind of get that right. Batman, I'm still reserved on that one. I could go either way because it's gone either way so many times already. But not like a huge James Gunn stan where a lot of you guys are, but I have no problem with him. I have faith that it should go in the right direction. But with this amount of projects, I don't know if we're really to say we're really fixing the problem. I feel like we're too much at once. If we're trying to catch up to Marvel, we should maybe start phase at a time. This doesn't seem very in phase. Like then again, a lot of these don't have dates, so maybe they are in phases and we just don't know.
Well, from the way James Gunn spoke about it, this is an 8 to 10 year project. So this is chapter one. Their version of phases is called Gods and Monsters. So these
Yeah,
are
I
gonna
saw that, but I'm saying like all of these gods and monsters? Because if that's the case, it's a lot. That's what I'm saying. That's my point. Because lanterns, which I don't know if you've seen that, but a lot of people are fan casting. What's that actor's name? I can't remember because he's a black dude. He shaved his mustache, goatee. He had a really prominent goatee. I think he was a Scar's voice actor or something. I can't remember his name. If I remember
yeah,
his name, or if I see the image, I'll send it to you while we on the video, even though we only got 40 minutes. But yeah,
yeah.
a lot of that was literally I seen that video. I think last night or this morning after I got off work. So a lot of people were talking about him. So if Lanterns is a go for this phase, which uh I did see it in the list with no data on there. So if we got talking Lantern, I'm pretty sure that's gonna be a movie, not a show. But whichever one you got, Lantern, Booster Gold, Waller, Peacemaker 2. It's a lot. It's a lot for one phase. That's like what I'm saying. Like I'm not saying it won't work. I'm just saying it's a lot.
Well, let's break it down, right? So the guy you're talking about, I think his name is Aaron Pierre.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, he's the guy from Lion King. That's who it is, I believe.
Yeah,
Um,
that's it. Yeah,
so
100%.
Lanterns is gonna be a TV show, and Lanterns is gonna basically set up like the big bad, like the Thanos of the DCU, basically, right? The other shows like Creature Commandos, for example, James Gunn did say that even though it's animated, the voice actors will be playing the actors in a live action adaptation when they do
Okay, that's a
when
dope
they do
idea.
so which I think is a fun concept, right? Because
For
with
sure.
for example, like with the MCU, everything is obviously live action except for What If for the most part, and I guess Spider Man that just came out, but being able to incorporate it into the story with like by keeping like the same voices as well, I think is a good idea. Like not to like give too much change to the characters.
Right.
But in terms of like movies, like the confirmed movies, right? We know Superman, Supergirl. We kind of already know the basis of those for the most part. Supergirl's gonna be a little bit of a darker take because she did watch her planet and loved ones die. And Clayface is supposed to not be a villain. He's more so I don't know if he's an anti-villain or just kind of like going to be a hero or not. But I think Clayface is also a very interesting movie to take. I would never had suggested a Clayface movie, but now that it's suggested, kind of excited for it. And he also did mention that the Batman, Robert Pattinson's Batman, is not part of the DCU. It's just a DC, DC product. So they're gonna continue with that, but that's just not part of this. Our Batman is gonna be introduced with Damian Wayne, so it's gonna be like a father son movie as well. And for a lot of people, Damian Wayne's a favorite Robin. So I think they could do a lot of good things with that. And I think the thing I'm most excited for is Swamp Thing because the way it's talked about is gonna be like a gothic horror movie, right? So like it's not gonna have like the superhero feel for the most part. It's gonna have like that, like almost like 2010s like horror film. So I mean I don't know how it's gonna play too much into the DCU storyline, but we gotta I guess just have faith on that one. And what I wanted to mention earlier about Peacemaker 2 was everything in Peacemaker he said is going to be canon. The one thing that is not canon is at the end with the Justice League cameo,
Mhm.
because most of the Justice League is obviously not in the DCU. Aquaman is still in the DCU. Blue Beetle is still in the DCU. Shazam is still in the DCU. So all these guys got kept. Everyone else got scrapped.
Right. And then that's I think that's gonna go into Peacemaker 2 is gonna go right into Waller, I would assume. Swamp Thing you can go anywhere. That really Swamp Thing is mostly a Batman thing, but Batman's kind of linked to Booster Gold for going a TV show route again. Movie I'm not sure how they're gonna link movies and TV shows, but that's just me putting it out there. One thing we missed, two things we missed. Um Wonder Woman prequel, that's gonna be a show as well. It's called Paradise Lost.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna talk about that. Which is also fun because the way he talked about it is gonna have a Game of Thrones feel.
Right, right.
We'll see how that looks.
And what's the other one? The Authority.
The Authority I had mentioned earlier. It's a movie, not a show, though.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's I didn't hear you say that one, I guess. But no, I'm saying that's at least I didn't mention it. So that's another one with both Superman and Batman links. So there's a lot of
Yeah.
ways you go both movie and TV show wise as far as links go.
No, no, for sure. I can see why. I can see how everything could be linked, right? And I can see how it could lead to like a, like the
The Authority is an interesting choice, though. I mean, I can see how everything's linked, but again, it's
that's
comic book. You can link anything. So the Authority being a movie is definitely a choice. So I kind of look forward to that, but I gotta see. I don't think it's gonna be like one of the first ones. I think it's probably gonna be closer to the back end based
no,
on what
yeah,
I
that
know. So I'm gonna have to
you
wait
know,
a bit. But
in terms of order of the movies coming out, right? The Authority is coming out as the fourth movie, right after Clayface.
I'm gonna lie, you looking at something different for me. I don't even see Clayface on anything that I've even come across.
Well, this is I had watched James Gunn kind of like do like his
I'll use the video.
yeah, he did a video like talking about all the movies and like like the chronological order of the movies and the shows, for example. I don't know the chronological for TVs and movies together, but I know the movies in order. I know the TVs in order, right? Um, let's talk about the things that are being kept, right? So we know Shazam's being kept, which is fine, right? Because we don't really have much ties with Shazam to like the DCU, so like it's not that tough of a transition. I think Aquaman is probably the toughest transition, just because like obviously he's had a lot to do with the DCU in terms of Justice League, but his movie standalone wise, like you can make the jump without it being too bad of a transition. And he was excited about Flash because the Flash kind of like it's like almost like a real life canon, like like reboot, right? So it's pretty fun concept to like think that like this like movie actually just gave us a whole new universe of DC in real life in real time.
No, for sure. I mean, you already know when it comes to Flashpoint is always like the biggest storyline. If you want to flip shit, I mean, if you want to use things as a way to recreate a universe, it's a
Oh,
good jumping off point. Even if you don't use that storyline itself, you can use similar content. I mean, it gives you the time travel slash reality bending, which I mean, some people could use as a cop out, but again, I think Marvel didn't really use it until like the very end, and it was a little loophole. We ended up with like what two Gamoras and whatnot, a little bit, but I mean, uh we in the comic books we end up with so many versions of so many people all the time. So that's not really that big of a deal to me as a comic book fan. But again, if we're talking about workload, we're talking about catching up to Marvel. Again, that's what I keep seeing. Like, uh, I could go through this. How many projects do we just list? Was that 12?
So
So
let me
even so that's one you said that's one phase, but how much was phase one through phase five? Well then again it might have been 12 projects per, but every one of those projects just didn't bang. So which one of these are we gonna assume is gonna be a stinker if that's the case? Because it's gonna be hard to come out with 12 shows and they all bang. So not to be negative
no.
about it, just putting perspective out there.
I will say this though, like in terms of like how many movies are slated for like chapter one, I think instead of looking at it like comparing to MCU's like phase one, I think it's just more so like compared to like MCU's like Infinity War arc, right? Because like phase one through four was all basically leading up to Infinity War. So I think it's like chapter one is basically like, for example, it would be like four phases in one per se if it's gonna be like 8 years. So like the amount of movies is fine if that is like the kind of route they're taking, right? Like if they're gonna be leading up, like there's gonna be a bunch of like like big bads, whatever, blah blah blah, and maybe like a few like big team up movies like how the Avengers did it, and possibly forming a Justice League that that doesn't like have so much controversy behind it because the whole Josh Whedon uh, Justice League coming out after Zack Snyder's tragic loss. It was just a weird. It was a weird take, and then the fans were just begging for like this, the Snyder cut. We finally got it. It was like 10 times better in my opinion. But if we could avoid like things like that, I feel like a Justice League movie could be phenomenal. Just those, it was just too much, like like edits and cuts, and like waiting for like a 4 hour movie that had to be done because everyone wanted the Snyder cut with everything included. And we just kind of like keep it like coherent and like James Gunn and I forgot what the other guy's name is. Peter Safran. It's both of them
Yeah, yeah.
doing. You.
Not for now,
If
he's a director. What did he direct? Can't remember
Peter
right now.
Peter Safran, he's doing Supergirl, I believe. I
You
know,
know what I'm saying?
I,
I think he did something before. Did he do Game of Thrones before?
that sounds like it might be. I don't know. I remember reading it. I just can't remember what it was. But yeah, like I said, it's a lot of movies, but if they do it the route that like how like MCU did four phases, and then chapter one is kind of like a multi like part like like thing, and it matches up to the Infinity Saga, right? Because the Infinity Saga was what, like, how long was that? 20 years?
So technically it's 11 years, but yeah.
Yeah, but yeah. So we'll see. I mean, like I said, you want to talk about some of these shows though? Let's talk about Booster Gold, right?
Hmm.
Booster Gold, I don't think is gonna be like a very like serious show for them. I think it's gonna be a very like like satirical, like maybe a lot of comedy involved, and kind of like leading to like a like not a stand up like like main character, but like like a decent like support character when we do get these huge team ups. Because in reality, Booster Gold is just a guy like if you and I went back in time to like the 1800s with all our weapons and technology.
I mean, it's a bit of a overstatement, but just to put it out there, he worked on the Conjuring series and Shazam. That's where my brain was going. As far as Booster Gold was that? Damn, this is kind of bad. Was that which animation was did we or because okay, I see Booster Gold in the comics, but I gotta say, in my opinion, I think when he was on the animated shows, it gave him definitely a boost, no pun intended. Because not to say he wasn't prominent in the comic books, but I mean he was kind of like Justice League Unlimited, like on the extended versions of Justice League. Like he has his own comic books, don't get me wrong, but he was I can never really say in my opinion, maybe I just he never was my kind of guy, maybe I don't know, but I don't think you could ever say he was really even close to up there with what we would consider like the big dogs, right?
No, of
But
course.
he is an interesting concept because, like you said, he's basically like if you took me or you, like you took a high school athlete, gave him some decent intelligence because he's not the smartest. He's kind of like a con man smart, not traditionally smart. Not to say he's not smart at all, but so he has like street smarts, but above average, but not nothing crazy. And then you give him some one or two, three pieces of technology that's time travel, some boosters or whatever, and then that giant piece, well, it's basically AI, which I mean, yes, we have that now, but basically he has a Jarvis type of John following him. So basically, yeah, you could kind of say it's like one of us going back. Obviously we probably have to go further back because I forget how far in the future he's from, but um. Like I said, in the animation, I can't remember if it was Blue Beetle or one of the Batman shows. I think it was the one with the Batman show with like every episode we had like a different he was working with a different superhero. I can't remember which one that was, but I think I'm
That
pretty sure. What?
2004 Batman, I think, with
Oh,
the
I definitely don't know what year it was. I'm
long.
But it was, I do know that was the premise of the Batman. Basically, every episode we had a different superhero, and a lot of people we had that's how it introduced to both Booster Gold, not introduced, but seen in a bigger light. Booster Gold and Plastic Man. Was it? Yeah, Plastic Man.
Classic, man.
Yeah. So yeah, those two. So just examples like that. Not to say again, they were in the comic book. I remember reading about them, but I don't. I could definitely. I think in the animation they have bigger light, more you can see what they really could bring. So I think that this TV show is gonna be animated or
I believe it's animated.
yeah, yeah. I hope it's animated. If it's gonna be animated, I think they have a lot of places to go with it. But if not, scrap everything I just said. Um, because
That's fair.
because because of the futuristic thing and because of where we actually are in life, you know, you'd have to go like Star Wars level of future now. Even though technically speaking, Star Wars is the past, whatever. You'd have to go Star Wars level of the future for it to be impressive, at least to me, because of I mean how much we've caught up in real life to what a booster goal would have been at the time when it was written in the 80s or whatever. So,
Yeah. Well, I mean, so like just for people watching who don't know Booster Gold. Booster Gold is like how James Gunn says the definition of imposter syndrome. He's a guy from the future who comes back in time because he wants to be a hero, and he obviously if he has technology from years and years in the future, he's gonna be seen as like who is this guy? It's like me going back to 1800s with ChatGPT. Like I'm a run the show. You know what I mean? But I definitely feel what you're saying. Like he definitely does get some shine in the animated series. But in terms of like this, like big bad, and like if we're trying to keep it like like a fun yet like serious tone, how DC usually does it. When we do get those big team ups, I don't see him being more than like comedic relief for the most part because he's
right,
not the. And in terms of tech, like he's gonna have great tech, but it's not gonna be anything Batman can't copy. Even Damian Wayne probably be able to with the Batcave. But besides that, like we got these other shows, Waller and Creature Commandos. I think it's a weird concept to have both of these shows in the same phase.
why you say
It's
that?
'cause- well, the Creature Commandos is it's already out. Um,
Right, right,
it's basically like has to do with like Waller not being allowed to use the Suicide Squad anymore because it's inhumane and kind of using a
all right,
team that's not
right.
for for suicide missions, more so like they're guys who are meant to come back. And then to also have Waller, I don't know. It's there's a way to do it,
Not,
but
that's all I was gonna say. I think I mean there's a very easy way to do it because I mean she's already. I think that's actually well the problem I would say is Creature Commandos is animated, right?
yeah, but it is live action canon, so the voice actor,
I know it's canon, but I'm saying time wise, Waller is supposed to be after Peacemaker, no?
yeah,
So
well, yeah,
So Peacemaker is prior, if I'm remembering correctly, prior to Suicide Squad.
Peacemaker's no Peacemaker's after because remember Peacemaker almost dies and then he gets wakes up in the hospital and they recruit him to do missions.
So yeah, then it still does work though, because if you're doing Creature Commandos after, so then this is after that. It's just you're just gonna have to do it a certain way to where they have Creature Commandos first, and then so there's something gonna have to happen in Creature Commandos, or Waller's gonna be so far ahead that it's just they're not gonna be tied together.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. Either Waller is going to be like far ahead or like far like behind. 'Cause I'm not sure what route they're taking
Yeah,
Waller
yeah.
after.
Just because the spinoff doesn't mean it's not a prequel. That is true. I didn't think about that. Just to mention which what the name of that animated serial was, by the way, that was The Brave and the Bold. Funny enough, because that's what this current Batman is called. So I probably
Yes.
should have known that, but couldn't think of it off the top of my head.
Yeah. Speaking of this Batman, I am excited for it. Right. I wouldn't say Damian Wayne's my favorite Batman. I mean my favorite Robin, but I definitely think he's the most interesting Robin. Because obviously we have the OG Dick Grayson, right? Orphan taken in by a grown orphan. Some people could say that Batman kind of abused these kids. Some people would probably be mad at me saying that, but regardless, right? Damian Wayne's the only one that's not like, for the most part, a charity case in a sense, right? Like, or an empowerment of a fellow orphan. Depends how you want to look at it. But obviously we know there's like a lot of tension in that relationship. So I'm curious to see like from what point do they start? Is it like did Damian Wayne just get adopted? Is he already kind of like did he already run the ones with Nightwing? Like, I don't know where we're gonna start with it, but I think it's a very interesting start off for a Batman, right? Because usually we get like the Batman before any Robins, or we get like a young Batman. Should we even
Wow.
got an
I
old
say
Batman?
usually when we do anything Damian Wayne, whether it's the Son of Batman animated movie or it's other things, usually it's always when Batman finds out. So it could be later on, like you said, later on. I mean, obviously, if it's when he's had Damien for a while, that's definitely after the Bat family is like fully established. So I
Right.
feel like that would be an interesting way to go about it because you already have by the time Damien comes at that point, if he's been there a while, then you've already had three Robins. You should have already had Jason Todd, Tim, and Dick Grayson, and then Damien being the fourth. This actually by the time if we're doing it the right time, Jason Todd's actually already dead. So that could be very interesting based on how they do it. But they don't have to do that way. Um,
Right.
Yeah, I would rather they did it like a little farther along. I'm so tired. First, this is kind of selfish, but I kind of tired of a lot of the intro stuff. Like, you could maybe do a flashback in the thing or something. There's a lot of ways we don't have to do the whole same song and dance again. I understand
Right.
you want to put your stank on it. It's your work, blah blah blah. But I don't want to have to go through that again personally, selfish reasons, blah blah blah.
Well,
So
no, I feel that because I was definitely happy with the Spider-Man, like Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, for example, right? When we didn't have to do the whole like Uncle Ben tragedy again, we just kind
yes,
of jumped into a Spider-Man, and then even more so with Tom Holland, where he's already like far along as a Spider-Man. But I am excited for us not to have to relive everything because it's been done. Like what, like 6 times? How many Batmans have we had? Like it's been a lot.
my point.
So I don't know. We'll see. It's definitely one of the later movies that's going to come out, and obviously we're going to have Batman and Superman in the same verse. Might be safe to say that we are going to get some favorable team ups at some point. I don't know what direction Wonder Woman is going to come in from, right? So we know we have the promise, or not the promise, Paradise
Paradise
Island,
Lost.
Paradise Lost, right? I know we have that, but like, at which point do we introduce Wonder Woman to this, right? Because you can't really have a Justice League without Wonder Woman. I feel
Well,
like,
if it's gonna be a prequel, right? And James Gunn, as this was one of the things I actually didn't know about before you called me. James Gunn actually said it's gonna have a Game of Thrones feel, which I think you said too.
yeah,
This is gonna be based on Themyscira, so now it's not just a prequel. We're gonna watch her become Wonder Woman. I would assume. I could be wrong, but if it's gonna be on Themyscira, then it's kind of like it don't have to be. But how much time did she spend on Themyscira when she wasn't already Wonder Woman? So it's like, I feel like that's the only reason why we'd go that route. Um,
I see what you're saying. But James Gunn, when he spoke about it being like very very long ago before Diana, right? Like this is like OG Themyscira. Like it's not
Oh,
even called
that's
that.
even more interesting. But so my point still stands because if you're gonna introduce a Wonder Woman and if it's gonna be a very long time ago, then she's probably gonna be on the back end. So I mean, I
Yeah.
didn't know that, but that's actually very interesting.
So that's why it's I don't know how it's gonna piece together. Obviously, I know it's gonna have to, but I'm curious to see how it does piece together. Let's talk about the Lanterns as well, right? So we're getting a Hal Jordan John Stewart team up, like almost like a buddy cop intergalactic type deal,
Hmm.
which I think is extremely interesting, right? Because we know Hal Jordan's kind of like a douchebag shit talker, right?
He's a fighter pilot. He's literally a loner. Like, yeah,
And then we know John Stewart's like a very like like to the point, like no bullshit type of
he's
guy.
a military dude.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
So it's definitely gonna be an interesting combination, right? It's when I think about it, right, I think about like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, right? How we got two kind of broody guys, right? Sam Wilson can be with the joke sometimes, but not really when he's with Bucky. But like I always love the like the one the very opposites attract kind of like buddy cop thing. For example, I don't know if you've seen I'm thinking about Bad Cops, right, with Bruce Willis and Tracy Morgan.
yeah, yeah.
Love the combination. Even with the other guys with Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell, like the buddy cop trope is obviously a cliche, but it's a cliche for a reason, right? Like it works in my opinion.
I didn't look at it that way. I did find it interesting that it was gonna be a team up when I again I mentioned Aaron Pierre earlier. So I did find that interesting because when I first seen the Aaron Pierre, I was like, "There's no way they're doing how they're doing Green Lantern. It's not gonna be Hal Jordan first." So that's when I actually went and did and I said, "Oh, it's gonna be both of them in there," which I found interesting because I always get this confused because again, obvious part of the thing about comic books that always trip me up at least is if you're especially when you're reading them like just based on trying to follow along and you're not reading them like upon release date, like especially a lot of these dudes have been around for so long. So if I remember correctly, It's Hal Jordan, somebody else, Ray Gardner, then John Stewart. John Stewart is like the third or fourth Green Lantern we're introduced to.
I thought John Stewart came before Gardner though.
No, he's before Gardner, but there's somebody before him. John
Yeah,
Stewart
yeah.
is third. So I can't remember who the second person is. But I do find it interesting that they're skipping over it because I thought if you were going to, I mean, it's no, again, no problem doing it any way you want. But I thought if you're going to do it, you're going to do like a group. Because if I remember correctly, Earth, the sector Earth is in, it's all the Earthlings and two or three other Green Lanterns, and then you got obviously the other cores in the way. So I think
Yeah.
there's interesting what you could go the team route, which maybe they didn't want to do because we already have Titans, we already got this other stuff, or maybe because they just want to go the buddy cop route, like you were saying, because I didn't think of it that way, but I guess that's a possibility. So that'd be interesting because again, like you said, they're not similar personalities as far as they go. I think if you had all again, I can't remember this other person is gonna bother me, but I know like Guy is kind of relaxed compared to the rest of them. So it's like literally you would have like a spectrum, but not to say that it's bad, but it is what it is, you know? So
Well, I mean, guy definitely, he might be a little bit relaxed, but he definitely is like the most self-centered of the Lancers, which is saying something with how Jordan being in the mix.
well yeah. So I think it's that so Hal Jordan's kind of like an asshole in the sense that he's just used to being a loner. Guy is arrogant in a way like how do I put this? He think it's just weird. He it's not like it's not just that he thinks he's better than everybody. He's like he kind of doing this for glory. Obviously, you being a Green Lantern, you
Yeah,
have to have willpower. But he's a glory hunter. If you're looking at all like how does dangerous
no,
stuff because he's used to doing dangerous shit. He again pilot guy is doing it because I mean look fun
no, for sure. No, I definitely agree with that. Like he's definitely like, and this is the reason why he's often viewed as like the weakest Green Lantern, right? Because like it's not that he has like a lot of willpower, like he's like a fighter at heart. He's in it because he wants the recognition for the most part. He wants to be like basically it's just to be cool. It's like a kid in high school who joins a football team just so he could like wear the Letterman jacket type shit.
fair point
But like I said, it is supposed to set us up for the big bad, and I think it's the last TV show that's supposed to come out. So I don't know. This might be maybe like the plant, like like seeds, like kind of like how Marvel did with Thanos, like in like some end credits and whatnot. But like this is where we kind of get introduced to like like the nitty gritty of what the big bad is gonna be. And like I said, I don't know which route that's gonna take exactly, but it's a lot of movies, a lot of build up, and a lot of opportunities to like learn these characters, like through and through, which we didn't get with the first with the DCU, right? We just kind of got characters thrown into the mix, and like we're expected to know them, which is fine if like you're an active comic book reader, but like they changed the story a bit. Like you don't really know what they're what they're all about. We know Aquaman was young. We know Wonder Woman has been in the game for a while. Batman is supposed to be kind of older in a sense, but like there's no Robin, so it's kind of a weird weird take on it as well. So I wasn't a huge fan of the build up, right? Obviously, because there really wasn't any. So I'm hoping with this one, like all these movies are slated, we're gonna get like the actual like backstories, right? Because I think that's what makes the Snyder Cut, a much better Justice League as well. Is we got a lot of cyborg build up, right? We got a lot of each character's like personalities, right? The Flash, Cyborg, even Aquaman, and it made you kind of care for the characters more, which I think is very important when you talk about these movies, especially if you're gonna have characters get hurt or like possibly die. Because like like if you just met them, you kind of don't care all that much, right? Like it's not impactful. And if that's the case, what's the point? You know, and which is great that they're referencing like Game of Thrones for Paradise Lost because the one thing Game of Thrones did right was they made you care about a character before they killed him off.
for sure.
They made that shit hurt. You know what I mean?
I mean, you're going so
So
far back into like a Themyscira type of John, we really don't know who you might lose. So I do think that's pretty good.
no, I agree. And obviously with the DCU, we look at like the old like Themyscira, right? Like in the beginning of the Snyder Cut where like Darkseid kind of like tries to invade the Earth. And I'm hoping we get some kind of like like mythical like war at some point, right? Because like to Themyscira has to have something to do with like the Greek,
Gods. Yeah.
right? So I'm hoping we get some kind of like like
I
big
did
pay.
wonder that, but I don't see how the tie-in is gonna be. And like I said, I don't want to just be basically shitting on this, which I don't think I have been, but just saying like if I don't want to keep pointing out negatives, I'm not saying that it can't happen. I just don't see how that ties into anything else because um but maybe some Batman, but for the most part, none of the gods is really there's no real connectors with other heroes as far as the gods go. That's like just her wheelhouse. Not to say it's good or bad, but I don't see how you can use that as a connector for keeping a universe going at least. So I don't know.
Well, and I'm not looking at it like too much to be a connector, but at least to make the show like on its own. Because like I think the biggest like miss that like the MCU has done with some of the TV shows is like it's putting the TV show just to like introduce the character and like throw him into like the mix, right? Like I feel like Moon Knight fell flat because it didn't feel like a standalone show by the end of it, right? Like it just kind of like became like like this is an MCU product and they're just trying to introduce us to Moon Knight. And I feel like if you commit to a show enough to like make sure that it, by itself is good, then you reap the rewards of it. So I'm hoping like Paradise Lost does have some tie-ins, but for the most part, like you can watch it by itself.
Yeah, it's always good that it can stand alone. Obviously, for us nerds, we want connectors, but you should always have a show that you can be able to watch by itself. We're down
For
like
sure.
5 minutes, by the way.
All right, well then let's wrap this thing up. It's Chapter One, Gods and Monsters. It's a lot of movies. We have 8 to 10 years of movies and shows coming out. Superman is set to be released this year. I believe Supergirl is 2026, as well as Clayface and the Authority, maybe. And then the other two movies don't have a release date yet, which probably means they'll be 27, 28. The shows, Creature Commandos has already come out. Peacemaker 2 is supposed to be coming out at the end of this year, I believe, in October maybe. And then the other shows, I don't know, a lot of them have dates yet, but we're in for a lot of DC content coming out, especially with the MCU kind of like teetering on relevance.
Kick him while you
It's
down. I don't want to kick
that's
him while you down. Why you not? Where your foot at?
listen. This is the time for DC to like to plant their feet in the ground and like
Foot
and
on net.
push back, bro. Because when Justice League came out, like I'm a big DC fan, and when the DC movies started coming out, it just kind of felt like they're just trying to like hold on to like the superhero.
Dear life.
It was like you're missing the hits, you're missing the good stuff, and this time it's different because MCU is not on top of the world. MCU is actually being clowned right now, so we'll see. They have a real opportunity to really put their foot and become the big ticket. Uh, Trying to think anything else we might have missed. No, I think that's pretty much it. I'm excited for Peacemaker though, man. I love Peacemaker. Shit's good.
Yeah, we also really like John Cena, so I'm not surprised at all.
Hey, listen, I just rewatched the Fast and Furious series. All right, and
Okay.
listen, you can't hate on the man. All right. Speaking of Fast and Furious, Fast and Furious 11 is supposed to be coming out next year or the year after. So I'm waiting on that.
You know how we
And
do
maybe
around here. You know,
speaking
you got
of,
the whole eight the collection, boy, eight movies, and you just watch the other two on the digital way. You know how we rocking with the Fast and Furious series around here, but still, uh,
I just found out that there's like side movies, like not Hobbs and Shaw, but like there's the 2004 movie, which I think is the one after Too Fast Too Furious. It's like Las Bandoleros, right? Which is like Vin Diesel or Dominic Toretto and Dominican Republic.
the movie after Too Fast Too Furious is Tokyo Drift.
Right, no, that's like the canon line, but like there's like side movies, like how like he always brings in people like that he knows. You're like, where the fuck does he know this guy from?
Yeah,
Uh, there's
wow,
there's there's movies for that apparently. Like there's like a couple like like side movies I didn't even know existed.
interesting.
So I gotta watch that. Like there's one like with him in Dominican Republic where he meets like some people that come up later in the movie franchise. So it's interesting. It makes you feel like maybe they didn't just throw shit at the wall.
Well, I'll work tonight, so maybe I'll watch Creature Commandos and knock it out in one go because it's only 7 episodes. It look like, right? Am I tripping?
Yeah, I think so. I'm waiting for that Invincible to come out on Thursday.
Oh, I got to catch up on that. I'm done behind. As in, like, I was gonna start this season, and I realized I didn't finish last season. So,
I did shit, bro. All right, but hey, let's sign off real quick.
yes, sir.
It's your boy Jay. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good shit.
It's your boy Kenzo the Great. Check us out. Check me out at least on the other channels, BSL podcast as well as the wrestling channel.